Hi guys, would you pay for a Skyrim mod? Would you pay for Fallout 4 mods? I mean, I know you've probably said it before, you've probably downloaded a mod and tried it and said, this mod is so damned good, it's worth more than the DLC I bought, I would pay money for this. But did you mean it? Were you serious? Because that question is one you are going to have to answer soon if the rumours are true. Okay, if you have not visited the Nexus site in recent months, you may be wondering what the hell I am talking about, and if you are, I suggest you go along to the Nexus mod site. I will leave a link down below if for some reason you do not know it, and you should check out the front page of any of the Nexus sites. And the top article at the moment is something called Blog Piece, Modding as a Hobby versus Modding as a Career and the Position of the Nexus. And in it, the owner of Nexus, Dark One, discusses what he thinks is going to be happening over on the Steam Workshop. And he believes that the Steam Workshop will soon allow mod authors to upload their mods and place it behind a paywall to charge for that mod. And the mod author would then receive what he believes is 25% of the money, and the other 75% would go to the workshop and probably to the game developer, in this particular case, Bethesda. And for a number of reasons, I happen to think he is correct. I think he is 99.9% likely to be at least on the right track. I do believe monetization of these mods is coming, and I suspect it will happen before Fallout 4 comes out. So this could be taken as a good sign. If Bethesda are testing the waters now, it's because they want to hit the ground running for Fallout 4. Good news if you're waiting for Fallout 4, but perhaps not good news if you are a fan of the modding community. It's going to depend on how you look at it. Now, I've read quite a lot of comments on that article, and many of them were, well, people who were very, very worried. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. This is just me rambling on about this development as to whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Because I do believe there are some pros to this and some cons. And the question is, overall, will this be something that is good for modding? On the balance, spoiler alert, I happen to think it probably will be good in the long run. I think it's, well, more than anything, I think it is inevitable. It is going to happen. It's sort of the next obvious step. But I actually think it will probably be a good thing. However, there will be a few hiccups along the way. Mostly, I think, in public opinion. And for the individual mod user, it's going to take some getting used to, and of course, if some of your mods are now going to require money from you, it is going to require you give some serious thought to which mods you create. And thus jobs like the YouTuber who reviews mods is going to become even more important. In fact, it actually becomes pretty critical then. You can't just treat all of these mods as, well, free gifts for everyone to be appreciated no matter what. You're going to be treating them like paid products, which is exactly what they will be. So I'd like to discuss, first of all, I'd actually like to discuss the negatives. The most obvious negative, of course, is you're going to have to buy mods. Well, that's going to be expensive, isn't it? I mean, many of us have got hundreds of mods in our load order, and we've tried thousands. Well, we can't afford hundreds of mods, even if they only cost $1 each. You know, you can't be going off and spending $150 on mods on top of the game. And what happens if you want to try mods? You've got to buy them? Will there be a free period, a trial? Probably not. If I want to test 1,000 mods, have I got to spend $1,000? That's just not going to happen. Well, to be honest, I think this point is one that, it's a valid point to some degree, but also one that I think people probably worry about unnecessarily. Certain mods are probably going to be mods you have to pay for. I'm thinking big mods, massive quest mods, perhaps things like Falscar. But the small mods, well, I don't think they will. And the reason for that is I don't think anyone would buy them. Let's just look at a mod, Pumping Iron. That's one of my mods. This is a mod that only took a few hours to make and could be replicated by many mod makers with ease. If someone just said to them, could you make a mod that made your character grow with time as they did exercise? Most modders would probably be able to do it. The only reason I'm the one who did it is because I had the idea at the right moment and just happened to have the knowledge of how to do it, did it, uploaded it. If I tried to sell Pumping Iron, say I put that to Steam Workshop and removed it from the Nexus, somebody else would release a version very similar. They wouldn't call it Pumping Iron, although they probably could, because I can't exactly trademark that term. But as long as they didn't copy my scripts, and they really wouldn't have to, as I said, any modder with any amount of skill will be able to replicate it. They could do something very, very similar, and that would be perfectly okay with Nexus. I mean, there are plenty of mods that do very similar things, just the mod authors did work separately. I mean, realistic needs and diseases versus I need, for example, very similar concepts. Both mod authors did their own work, got their own take on it, but that's one of those scenarios where you have very, very similar mods. If someone made a similar mod to Pumping Iron and made it free, everyone would use that. And I guarantee there will be plenty of mod authors who will quite happily release a mod just to get the endorsements. And if they can release a mod that only takes a few hours, they will. So I still think you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of free mods. The mods that might be in more danger for you if you are short on cash are the big mods. Mods that took thousands and thousands of hours. Falscar comes to mind, perhaps. Helgen Reborn, Sky UI, maybe Frostfall. Some of these really, really big mods that if the mod author decides to put them behind a paywall, will be hard to replicate. You know, it's not like someone's just going to come along and say, oh, all right, then if he's going to charge for Falscar, I will make my own version of Falscar. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So that could be an issue. You might find some huge mods like Falscar will be unavailable unless you are willing to spend some money. And of course, that is a negative, and there's no real way around that. It could mean a lot of the content mods become a little less available for those short of funds. And yeah, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that and how it will affect us. I mean, in the end, I would say 99% of the mods I use probably fall under the category of mods that will probably remain free. But then there are a few mods where I look at them and think, well, you know what, I'd pay for them. I mean, I would pay for Sky UI, I would pay for SKSE, I would pay for Falscar, I would have paid for Helgen Reborn. I mean, Helgen Reborn gave me a good 10 or 15 hours of play, which is pretty much the same as a lot of the DLC. So I would pay money for those, and if I would pay money for them, then there's a good chance they will go behind that paywall. I wouldn't pay for a lot of the other mods. And that includes a lot of the texture mods, a lot of the, I mean, the high definition texture mods I use, they're kind of cool, they're kind of nice, but they're not that important to me. They might be important to other people, but we would have to see. But in the end, what I think you will find is some mods require many, many hundreds, perhaps even thousands of hours of work. Those might go behind a paywall, and that will suck for those who cannot afford it. But any mod that takes less than that, any mod that can be knocked up in 20, 30, 40 hours is going to remain free, in my opinion. I just cannot see a way people will be willing to pay for them enough to make it actually worth it. I mean, again, I will use Pumping Iron as an example. It's a reasonably popular mod, even though it's kind of strange and kind of unique. If I put that behind a paywall, even one as low as $1, I can't imagine more than 10 people would have actually bought it. So I would have had 10 people using it, and I would have made $10, whoopee. I mean, you know, perhaps that's me living in a reasonably well-off country. $10 is just... I'm not going to be making a career out of pumping iron, shall we say. It's just not going to happen. And so from me as a mod author, I'm just going to upload it for free because I'd rather have thousands of people endorse it than $10. However, if I'd spent a year of my life making Falskar and could possibly make, I don't know, $5 a pop on that, and I don't know, would 1,000 people, would it? 10,000 people, and make $50,000? Would I? Well, you know, you're now in the ballpark of we're having a conversation. So yes, this is a negative point. Yes, it's going to be something that hurts some people. The next issue I see people worrying about is the idea that Steam and Bethesda might go off and squash the free sites such as Nexus, and I honestly cannot see this happening for even half an instant. First of all, they're not going to force all mod authors to charge for their mods. I can't imagine they're going to do that, which means there will be free mods on the workshop. So having free mods other places really won't affect their bottom line too much. The second thing is, if they go off and close sites like Nexus, they will anger the community. And an angry community, an angry customer is not a good customer. Angry customers do not come back and buy your products. They do not support you. So you know, it would anger the community and the customers. But it would also be shooting themselves in the foot. Sites like Nexus will work with the workshop. If the workshop come along and say somebody has uploaded a mod that is a pay-for mod on our site and the mod author has told us, or if the mod author goes along to the Nexus site and says, hey, somebody's uploaded my pay-for mod on your site, can you take it down? Nexus will do it in a heartbeat. They take a very dim view of people who do that. They will ban those people and they will ban them in perpetuity. I hate saying that word. If you close the Nexus down, you've lost a partner. You've lost a partner who is willing to host the free ones, and if anyone does anything illegal, help you out and remove those mods. And where are all the people going to go if they're not on Nexus? They're going to go to the underground sites that you've got less control over, that are less reputable, and that don't mind hosting other people's mods, and really don't moderate or care that much. You're going to drive them off to the less reputable, let's just say it, you're going to drive them to the pirate sites. You are. And you've just driven a bunch of happy customers, made them unhappy and driven them to a pirate site. Well done. In the stupidity race, you have just got the gold medal. That would be idiotic. They're not going to do it. That really, well, if they do, then we can all have a real laugh at how epically stupid they are. Don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think all the free sites will just tick along as per normal. The free sites like Nexus will not be allowed to charge for mods because obviously Bethesda will not get their cut, but they will still be able to host free ones. That's my prediction, and I'm going to stick with it. The third issue is one that actually I'm slightly more worried about, and that is it will encourage competition rather than cooperation amongst mod authors. One of the things I always loved about the modding community was how the mod authors would get together and do team affairs or even help each other out. My Immersive HUD exists because of a lot of help I got from the Sky UI team and the SKSE boys. A lot of help. Wouldn't exist without it. And many of my mods exist because I've worked with mod authors such as MGE and so on. I love it. It's brilliant fun. That kind of cooperation could be under some threat. Now, I don't know how much, but there could be a case of where people are going to be like, no, I'm not going to let you use my resource. You know, I mean, people contact me all the time and say, oh, can I use that armor for my mod? And I'll usually say yes. I almost always let people use resources from my mods. I'm suddenly going to have less temptation to do so if I'm selling my mods, if my Advanced Recon series mods are now for sale, am I going to want to let people use those models? Am I going to want to when that could jeopardize my sales? I don't know. I mean, I'm personally not intending to sell my mods, but you've got to understand, there is a pressure there. And it's a pressure all mod authors are going to feel, and they're going to be having to make this decision at some point. Alright, am I going to continue to just freely let people use my stuff and say, yeah, just give me credit? Or are they going to think, no, bottom line, that's my money. And I think that is something that could have an effect. I wish it didn't. I would like to think the entire modding community would rise above it, but it's very hard to do. It really is. So that could be something that we start seeing a little less of. You know, modders really letting other people use their resources. It also goes hand in hand with another problem, people stealing other people's resources. There's suddenly a new pressure to, you know, oh, I want to make some money. I'll take that mod and I'll take this mod and I'll put them together and pretend it's mine and try and make a fast buck. And that I can see that being a small issue, and it's not going to be one of those ones that has a major effect, but it's going to be one of those ones that has a subtle effect that is you can see it underneath. You could see it in how the mod authors are talking to each other, and of course that could be a worry. We will have to see, and I am hoping that people will not get massively greedy. I honestly think that it'll start off as a bit of a problem, maybe, but get less of a problem when people realise there's probably very little money to be earned in this business. I say, I'm doing air quotes with my fingers, you can't see them, because honestly I think the vast majority of mod authors are going to make so little money doing this, in the end they just, oh yeah, sure, use it, bloody hell, whatever, I don't care, use my mod. That's what I think. Another complaint I have seen is that this will encourage the developers to become even lazier. They will just think, oh, well, someone will fix it now. There's even more incentive to make mods, so people will fix all of our problems. I kind of dismiss this complaint. I actually think this is going to put more pressure on devs. Here's the thing. You release Skyrim, and there are 5 mods. The unofficial Skyrim patches. There's one for the main game, one for each of the DLCs, and one for the graphics. That's 5 patches. Let's just say the authors of those patches decide to start charging money. That's, I mean, minimum be $5 for all those patches. I think a lot of people are going to be really upset about having to spend money on fixing something that they probably think the developers should fix. My guess is, if anything like an unofficial patch goes up and it's not free, the developers of that game will have some sort of obligation to quickly patch the game so that those particular mods are no longer required. That's again, that might be me being overly optimistic. I do know I am a fairly optimistic person, but I think that is unlikely to be a problem. I actually think occasionally it will actually spur devs into releasing patches and fixes that they might not have done otherwise. And then, for the rest of the complaints that I'm seeing, they tend to be variations of a theme. It tends to be things like, oh, modding should be an amateur hobby, not a profession. You should not be able to earn a living making mods, blah, blah, blah. To which I always ask, why? And the answer's pretty much always the same. I don't like it. I get the same, you shouldn't be able to make money with YouTube videos. Why? Because I don't like it. Or I wish I could do it, or you know, why should I have a job I hate and you get to do something that sounds fun? They tend to be variations on a theme, or it just comes down to sheer I don't like change. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of with you on this. I don't like this change because it's change, because I don't know where it's going to take us. I like the modding community right now. I love the way it feels, and this is going to change it. Therefore, I hate it. I mean, that's actually a valid concern. I mean, I like things as they are. But it's not really a valid reason why, say, Bethesda and Steam shouldn't do this. It's just I am a little nervous that the status quo is being rocked. However, the answer to that one, of course, is tough. Change is coming, change is inevitable, and we will have to roll with it. So I've seen some other people also suggesting, though this is not going to happen because Bethesda will not allow people to make money off their mods. I think the rumour here, the theory is Bethesda will be getting a cut of this, and therefore not only will they allow this to happen, they will actually be encouraging people to do it, especially mods that could get a lot of money. So in the end, there are quite a lot of negatives. They tend to be around the idea that we're going to have to pay money, which is going to make our hobby a little more expensive. Or at least those are the ones I think are more serious. And the idea that they maybe crack down on some free sites. I don't think it's going to be as big a problem as some suspect. I do think it will be a tiny problem. I mean, inevitably there will be some mods you're going to have to pay for, and you're going to hate that. Although not everyone will. Some people will be thinking, no, you know what, I'm glad I'm supporting this mod author. So it's probably going to be mixed even then. But I think the number of mods that do fall behind that paywall will be manageable. I obviously will apologise if I'm wrong. This is just me making predictions based on my gut feeling, but I just can't see a lot of the mods being sellable. Although, having said that, I have seen mods for other games where people will spend $5 on a bloody hat. So who knows what people will pay money for. And if people will pay for it, I suppose there's a pressure for people to charge for it. However, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic that those problems are not insurmountable. Okay, so those are some of the downsides that I see. What are the potential upsides? And the first one that springs to mind is quality and quantity. One of the things I want to see more of are quest mods for games such as Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim. I enjoy those type of mods, and I'm loving the fact that a lot of those type of mods recently have become so high quality, they're almost indistinguishable from DLC. They've got great scripts, they've got great lands, great areas, great dungeons, great quests, great voice acting, and some of them even have custom-made music. You've got things like Falskar, Helgen Reborn. There are a load of new ones coming out right now, and I know there are several on the horizon. And if these teams, because there's usually teams on mods that big, if these teams have got a financial incentive, then there's more chance of these projects seeing completion, and there's also more chance that these projects will be of a higher quality. Obviously, people will be willing to perhaps risk a little bit of time and a little bit of cash on the off chance that they can actually make that back. And indeed, I could see several teams popping up whose entire job becomes making quest mods. And so they will sit down, they will map out a quest mod in their head, and then they will develop it for 3 months, working 50 and 60 hours a day, several team members, and then release this as a DLC-sized mod, which means more content for your favorite game. In fact, perhaps more content than you can possibly play. So whilst you might find some of the mods you liked before are no longer available for free, let's just use Falskar. I'm not saying Falskar will go behind a paywall, but let's just say it had. Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to play it for free, but perhaps there would be 3 or 4 times more mods like Falskar, all going for maybe $5. I don't know the pricing at the moment, so this is just me, basically pulling numbers out of the air. But let's just say something like Falskar cost $5, and there were 5 or 6 of them out there, each with 20 to 40 hours play each. I mean, and if these are almost the quality of official DLC, that's kind of a win. When you just look at the value there, 20 hours of content for $5 is not bad. It could also mean some of the mods you love get developed faster. So think of mods like Sky UI that are absolutely essential for most people. How many features are there that we still want from that? We want the crafting menus, we want alchemy, that type of thing. There's all these extra features that they never got round to doing just because of lack of time, that the people had jobs to do. Would mods like that have more features? Would the teams involved be able to spend more time working on those projects? Almost certainly, especially if they just decided that was what they were going to do. If you could actually earn enough money to survive, to earn a living making mods that people are willing to pay for, and again, it's got to be mods people are willing to pay for, then that is going to mean the quality of mods and the speed those mods get created improve. Think of Fallout 4. If mod authors could actually earn money doing this, they could be essentially working full-time for several weeks after the release of that game just to get improvements on all the different things we're going to want improving, because you know we will. You know the game will come out and we'll love it, and then go, right, this needs to be modded, this needs to be modded. Especially things like the user interface, that type of thing. And if people are really working at it very, very hard, knowing that they can earn money, we will get these mods faster, higher quality, more features, more support. I mean, that's something that's going to be important. You're no longer going to be putting in a bug report and the mod author's going to come along and say, if you don't like it, don't use it. I mean, if they're charging you $5 for it, the last thing you're going to hear a mod author say is, don't like it, don't use it. Because they're not going to get many people visiting them, are they? The rating will go down, the word will be spread. Well, this mod author's not very helpful and people won't buy. Now, people would have excused that from somebody who was giving a free mod. Yes, he doesn't have time to cater to your every whim. He did it for free, you should be grateful. It's suddenly replaced with, yeah, you spent $5 on that, he should be listening to you. It's a new dynamic. It's, you know, it puts a little bit more power into what is essentially now the consumer. Now, as to whether that's good or bad, again, we're back to the whole I don't like change issue that a lot of us have, in the fact that we kind of like the mods being this amateur thing, but instead of thinking of it as, you know, mods that you pay for, now think of it as freelance DLC. So all of the free mods are still there, they're free, but the pay for mods are freelance DLC. Treat those mod authors who are charging you, treat them like developers the same way as you treat Bethesda. If you buy something from them and there's a problem, you submit a report and you expect some sort of, you know, satisfaction and so on. Although, don't be going to Bethesda to demand satisfaction if a mod author didn't do what you wanted. Again, this is not going to suddenly mean that Bethesda are responsible or Steam is responsible for everything that happens with that mod. So this is possibly going to be, you know, this is going to be one of those areas where you have to balance it. But overall, this could be one of the positive effects. More mods, or at least more big mods, and better quality big mods with more features. And in fact, this might be a sign of things to come in the development of games in its entirety. I mean, let's be honest, one of the major selling points for games like Skyrim is the modding community, the mods that are available, especially on, well, only on PC obviously, but it's one of the major pulls for Skyrim still selling right now. And if more games go that route because they think they can make money from what is essentially freelance DLC, then maybe more games will go this route. And I could imagine a time when instead of buying 10 games a year, you only buy 3 games a year because each of those games has so much more content available, because you almost expect there to be a bunch of user-generated content that's easily available for a fairly reasonable price. Now, again, this is just pure conjecture from me, and of course I might be dead wrong on this, and it might be absolutely terrible, and it might kill off the modding community. But honestly, I think the pros, whilst they may not outweigh the cons, I think they balance them. I think overall this could be long term a good thing. I think short term it will cause some waves, it will cause a little bit of resentment, because it is change and people don't like change. I guarantee there will just be people who stamp their feet and refuse to accept this, refuse to do it if this is what happens. And I reiterate, I don't know for sure whether this is what is going to happen. This is just what I've read and what I've heard from some other sources. I'm pretty sure it is, though. I think this is the future of modding. There will be some monetary pressure, but I don't think it's going to completely obliterate modding as we know it. So, there you have it. There's my opinion. It's pretty balanced, I think. I think it's pretty much down the middle. I'm excited to see where it could go at the same time as being nervous of what it will mean. But as a general rule, I like to look at the brighter side of life on issues like this, because normally I find the doom and gloom tends to be a bit over-exaggerated. I will draw your attention to the old content ID palaver that we had with YouTube changes, and was it 2 Christmases ago, where everybody was predicting the end of gaming on YouTube. They're trying to drive the gamers away. Come January, there will be no gaming channels left. Oh my God, what will we do? And then January came and everything just chugged along perfectly normally, and all that really happened was the big networks pretty much split off into a whole bunch of small networks, which was pretty much what I thought was going to happen. And for the viewer, not a lot changed. For the content provider, I actually think they got more choices and a little more power, and everything just moved along. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think there will be some initial resistance, there will be some initial doom and gloom, but I think things will just settle down, and after a while, after 6 months, people will just accept that certain mods, certain big and worthwhile mods, will be pay-for mods, and others won't. And that will just become the norm, and so you'll just get used to it, and you probably won't even remember the days when it was all free. Well, you probably will. You'll be like me, talking about the good old days of modding, when people didn't have these fandangled mod managers and did everything by hand like real men did, you know, so that when we made a mistake we had to reinstall our entire game, because that's what badass men do. We bang our head against the table screaming, oh my God, I'll never mod again, and cry. At least that's what I did. So yeah, that's my take on it. I may be wrong. I am not setting myself up as an expert. But there you go. There you have it. Feel free to discuss down below. Please try to be polite. Please try to be vaguely nice. It's a bit late to be asking that now, I guess. We're about half an hour into this. But I am interested to find out what you guys think. And also a little nervous that the comments are going to be somewhat vitriolic. So, again, I'm going to ask you, just try to be constructive. Just pretend you're not on the internet. Pretend you're in a public place talking to a bunch of strangers who share your passion for modding, and you don't want to be beaten up or arrested. That's generally a good rule for how to behave on the internet, if you ask me. Just behave as you would in public, surrounded by strangers, where getting home in one piece is a priority. Okay? So, I look forward to reading your comments.